Well, let me just get straight to the point. I think I blew my boat up. That'd be why there's oil everywhere. That hose is literally just cut right in half. And the port motor literally just starts to smoke black smoke and then just falls off and dies. So this thing just severed it completely, and I don't even know. Oh yeah, look, the Glendenning thing just totally failed. It's loose as a goose. I fire up the port motor at the slip so I can actually dock it fine. Get in, and next thing I know, the bilge pump kicks on, and a bunch of oil was coming out of the bilge. Yeah, look. Literally just popped right off. Well, there's no way to sugarcoat this. I think I blew my boat up. On Memorial Day, we had a bunch of people on the boat, cruised over to our raft up spot, spent the day there, ran the generator all day, go to leave, go to get on plane, and boom, a bunch of black smoke comes out of the port motor, and the port motor just completely dies. So I'm like, shoot, maybe I ran out of fuel because the generator pulls off the port tank. Anyway, long story short, limped it back to the dock, got back to the slip, and there is an oil slick all around the boat. Completely unintentional. We cleaned it up, don't worry, but something's going on. The motor still fires up and runs, but is leaking oil heavily. So now I'm driving down to the marina, and it's time to dive into whatever this issue might be that my port engine is having. However, I did peek in there last week, and it is an oily mess down in the engine room. So first things first, before we go looking around or crawling around too much, I'm gonna clean the heck out of the engine bay. I went to go get on plane, and I'm throttling up with my throttles here. Oil pressure good, temperatures were good. Next thing I know, I get to about 1500 RPM, and the port motor literally just starts to smoke black smoke and then just falls off and dies. So it's like, all right, that was weird. Fired back up, started to get on plane again, 1500, 1400 RPM, smokes, black smoke, like it normally does. And we've known for a while that that turbo has needed some love. But anyway, just fell right on its face again and died. So we went back home, we get back, I fire up the port motor at the slip so I can actually dock it fine. Get in, and next thing I know, the bilge pump kicks on, and a bunch of oil was coming out of the bilge. So I shut everything off immediately, tied up, used a bunch of soap, cleaned up, got everything where it needed to be, and then since it was Memorial Day weekend, we just put the boat away and we left it. And right, wrong, or indifferent, I mean, I didn't have time then. I wasn't going to fix anything at the time. We were in the slip. I cleaned up all the bilge as best I could, but I popped my head into the engine room, and there was just oil sprayed everywhere. So my mind immediately went to the worst. I thought turbo failure, and even, you know, possibly windowed the block, so blew a hole in the casting of the side of the block. And that's not uncommon, especially for my days at John Deere. You'd punch a rod through the side of the block, and dang thing would keep running. But anyway, it's a week later, I'm here to figure out what the heck the problem is, and I'm, fingers crossed, really hoping that it's just a simple fix, like a turbo oil feed or return line, or maybe even like an oil line or something like that, that somehow failed and emptied the engine of oil, and that's why it shut off. So here we are, out on the pursuit, 3400. And as always, if you guys appreciate this content, like, subscribe, and share this channel with others. This is my full-time job now, so I'm here to provide the boat content that you guys are looking for. If you've got a boat project or are looking for a cool boat project for me to take on, shoot me an email. My email is in the description. Also, if you guys have questions about your boat project or want to leave a comment about the kind of content that you guys are looking to see, let me know. I'm happy to film the videos for you guys and show you what you want to see. So, as always, Boat Restoration by Ben, and here we go. So sorry guys, my audio on my GoPro failed, so what we're doing here is a little voiceover, but all I'm saying is that we are going to be using a lot of soaps and degreasers to fix this problem. And of course, Better Boat, who is a sponsor of ours, has a great concentrate boat soap. Check it out, link in the description. We also have a Better Boat degreaser that is also linked in the description. But all that oil that's down below, first thing we want to do is spray and soak everything with degreaser and get that Better Boat concentrated boat soap in the bilge so it's soaking and sudsing, so that way when we suck it out and get rid of all that nasty oil that's in the bilge and water, we can prep it and make sure it's ready to go. But here's my engine hatch, slow, dramatic opening. It's nice though, I've got two big electric over hydraulic cylinders that pivot my entire engine bay open. As you guys know, my engines sit underneath where you stand at the helm of the boat. So hatch is open. I wish it went a little further, but that's all the room that can do. You can get down below here and you'll just see how much oil got all throughout the engine room. And I'm being a little dramatic, but it did spray oil. Everything was nearly coated with the residue on it. The first thing I looked at was the turbocharger, which actually didn't have any oil around it at all whatsoever. And you look around and there you go. There's the oil spray sitting all over the top of the hatch. We got a bunch of spray on the port side, not a whole lot of spray on the starboard side, but you can see when we were trying to get up on plane, whatever broke was spraying oil everywhere. So it's over the charger, the fire extinguisher, valve covers. I'm going to have to clean all of this stuff. But without trying to get too dirty here, I leaned over the port motor and I'm slowly inching my way to the front of the gear case of the motor, because that is what showed the most signs of oil spray. So at that front cover of the engine here, and we even went back to look at the turbo. There's actually there was no oil in and around the turbo. So the oil feed, the oil return, no leaks, no oil sprays from the transmission cooler. There's all that oil sitting down in the bilge. I mean, it was legitimately like maybe a 1/4 inch of oil sitting on top of the residual water that was sitting down there. So not good at all. Then of course my K&Ns, which if you've seen past videos, I've swapped out from the old box intakes, but you see my turbo there. And it spins freely, no problems. It's actually pretty clean on the inside. Really no issues. This is that port turbo that's been giving me troubles. I got to pull that off at some point and fix it. But for the time being, seems totally fine. So, all's well with the air intake and all is well with the turbocharger. So let's look back forward here and see what actually was the problem. Also noticing no heat marks, no coolant spray, anything like that. I just had to remove my hat because I didn't want to get my brand new Boat Restoration by Ben hat dirty on all this oil that's sitting down there. If you guys were looking for a hat, we've got merch that's going to drop here in the next week or so. Go check out our website. Hopefully have links on the YouTube channel here soon, but looking forward to showing you guys those hats. There's a little residual oil spray from my, what is this, the air intake? Or no, that's my exhaust. No, that's my air intake. I think I have a little bit of oil coming out of the valve cover gasket leaking down there. But again, you see more oil sitting in the bilge, more oil sprayed over the generator, AC pickup, strainer. It's a mess. And the last thing I wanted to do is be pulling anything apart with all this oil everywhere. But you see those two big hoses there? One of them's wrapped with metal, and one of them is not. Well, there it is. Look at all the metal sitting down there. There's literally a bunch of hose sheathing
wrapped around what appears to be the fitting for my Glendenning engine synchronizer coupler. And obviously something snagged. Well, looks like that transducer cable got snagged as well. But something snagged the oil hose. So I'm assuming a cord or something broke loose, grabbed the sheathing, the metal sheathing around the hose, and then, you know, you can only imagine at 1500 RPM how quickly this stuff spins up. But caught the synchronizer coupler and just spun it and created this huge wiry mess. And what it looks like is, yeah, there's the engine synchronizer with no more synchronizer cable or speed cable on the right side, which goes to my port motor. So that's an issue. Yep, it's all wrapped up around that coupler that literally mounts to the front of the flywheel, or not flywheel, but the balancer on the front of the engine. So something got caught. I read in forums, and I've had comments of guys talk about these engine synchronizer cables before failing. Sure enough, one of them failed, and now it appears they've severed my remote oil filter hoses, and that is what dumped all of the oil out of my engine and into my bilge and caused the engine to shut off. So, not ideal, but I will say it's probably best case scenario for this situation as a whole. These hoses are still very expensive. I'll show you guys when I replace them and talk about the cost of what each hose costs. I mean, these Volvos aren't cheap, but having hoses made up isn't cheap in general. So anyway, it's probably looking like, due to the damage, I need to remove that rat's nest and then see how bad the hoses are, but I'm probably going to have to remove and replace both of these oil filter hoses. They're the hoses that are intact from the starboard motor, and you can see that Glendenning cable sitting on the coupler. That is going to have to be removed immediately, so my other engine, my starboard engine, doesn't have the same problems. So I'm definitely going to do that while I'm down here fixing things up too.
So I'll show you guys here real quick. I mean, down here's the dipstick. I mean, this was my first check, but I pulled the dipstick and literally has no oil on it. So that is concerning. I really hope the engine did not run super long, but I think that's the case because in all reality, and you know, I've got some other oil leaks here too. Like this valve cover's leaking, so it's coming out of this seal here, this intake manifold, or sorry, exhaust manifold, and that seal probably needs to be replaced at some point, which will be a good winter job for the heat exchangers. But anyway, what I think happened is when the oil pressure sensor sensed low oil pressure, it sent a signal to this solenoid and shut off fuel, which is why the engine just completely shut down when I was trying to get on plane. So it's good to know. I mean, even this old P-pump motor, it's got a couple fail safes on it to make sure I don't end up blowing up the engine. So, you know, this little block down here, if that truly is the solenoid that cut fuel, then that really saved us in this situation. There's the old hand pump for my fuel sender as well. But yeah, I mean, these old P-pump motors, it's nice to know that temperature and oil pressure, if they sense it's low, it'll cut the motors off. So actually, that's probably a good lesson for you know, a no start situation. If these engines won't start, check your oil pressure and temperature sensors and see if they're cutting out the fail-safe. But it's good to know. But anyway, I had a bunch of oil in the bilge because of that hose getting cut, so I put a bunch of soap down there and cleaned it out, and up next is I'm going to vacuum it all out.
here's the real concerning part. Just move this hose out of the way. My dipstick is right below that. Pull the port dipstick, and there's literally no oil left. I mean, just a touch there in the end. That's probably just residual from the rod, but there's literally no oil, at least registering in the dipstick. Now, I don't think all oil left the engine, but I know for a fact that as soon as that solenoid triggered, it shut the motor down. And on these old mechanical diesels, it's actually a fuel shutoff. So if we go over here on the left side of the motor, we got our big P pump. So our P pump, mechanical injection fuel pump. And there's our little lift pump down there, manual lift pump. And then down below there is that block you see, hydraulic block with 3 hose fittings coming out of it, and then a little black solenoid sitting off the front end of it. So that's actually a block where fuel comes in, fuel goes out, fuel returns, and when it senses an issue with either oil pressure or lack of or too high of coolant temperatures, oil pressure is too low, that solenoid should trigger, cut fuel to the motor, and the motor should just cut off. So I'm assuming that's exactly what happened. It's good to know that those fail-safes still work on an old motor like these. These are 25-year-old diesels, all mechanical. So the only thing keeping them running is fuel and air. So yeah, and then here you go. I just took my Better Boat Marine degreaser, and I'm just going to town spraying this whole entire engine room with degreaser. I also got the old spray 9 out. I ran out of Better Boat Marine degreaser, so I pulled the spray 9 out and sprayed everything up top, down low, every square inch of it. This actually gives me a pretty good excuse to clean the engine room of the boat. Let this stuff sit there, eat away at all the oil and paint left over from projects and this catastrophic failure. Better boat soap, concentrate in the bilge there. Let that go to town for a little while. Help cut that 1/4 inch of oil that's sitting in the top of the bilge water. And then go after my handy dandy spray 9 and keep spraying the heck out of the entire engine room and walls. So the more the merrier. I'm not going to spray anything that is too unwaterproof, but the more I can get this stuff on everything, let it soak and eat away all the dirt, grime, and oil that shouldn't be there, the better. This will be a great cleaning of it. You can even see the old leftover paint residue from when we sanded and painted the Pursuit this last fall. And after we let it sit for about 20 minutes or so, I came back down. I scrubbed everything with boat soap concentrate and a brush and really got that oil residue and dirt and grime and paint off of everything in the engine room. So this is actually really satisfying for me. I'm glad I finally was able to clean the engine room, which was long overdue, and the engines. No one likes a dirty boat engine room, and especially not me. So this failure, right, wrong, and different, gave me a pretty good excuse to get in there and scrub things up the way that they needed to be. And again, mind you, I'm not spraying the alternator, I'm not spraying the air intake directly. I'm being mindful of hoses and electronics as I'm spraying around here, but for the most part, all this stuff's fairly safe just to hit with a hose, just as long as you're not using super high pressure water to spray this stuff in. So I've had everything soaking. We sprayed things off. Got a little soap in the bilge. And now I just went up. So I grabbed some pliers, some gloves so the metal doesn't cut me, and then open-ended wrenches to get off the big fittings here on the oil reservoir hoses. But now that it's cleaned off down here, I can actually lean on the engine and see a bit better. But
here's my one hose attached to the front, and then my other hose, which, oh, well, that'd be why there's oil everywhere. That hose is literally just cut right in half. So this thing just severed it completely, and I don't even know. Oh yeah, look, the Glendinning thing just totally failed. It's loose as a goose. Yeah, look. Literally just popped right off. Wow, okay. Let me put my gloves on. Let me just pull this off. Ugh. Jesus. Look at that, it's just loose. Literally just wrapped around the damn. Oh, that sucks so much. I have to find where that other hose end is, but look at this. That'll do it. That'll do it. Wow. Let me get this out of here with this rod. Oh. Okay, well. Jesus. So yeah, check this out. This is that fitting that goes on the end. The bearing or something must have just failed on it. Ripped the other end out of the Glendinning, and then wrapped up my hose and metal and just cut my oil feed right off. So that sucks. And guess what? I'm gonna go ahead and remove this guy so it doesn't give me a chance to fail in the future. Ugh. This is a good lesson, guys. I guess if you got these old Glendinnings, just go ahead and pull them off. Don't use them, or make sure you maintain them, because this is how they fail. Cause you lose all your oil. Well, I don't know if I should save this as a lessons learned or what. It's probably gonna go straight in the trash. But man, these old Glendinnings for engine synchronization, no good when they fail. I'm gonna have to get 2 whole new remote oil feeds. Look here, you can see my old cable, right? Still spins over. That's how they did them, but no moss. They're gone. I don't need them. My twin stick it anyway. But right now I'm taking off the other engine's fitting before it fails. So I need some sockets. And then, unfortunately, it looks like the new cable, or getting those hoses off for the remote oil, is going to be a pain in the butt on the bottom side, because I got to get all the way underneath the oil pan. So here's that Glendinning cable that I pulled out. Just want to show you guys real quick. It literally is just 2 1-inch fittings to the end of the coupler on the flywheel there, or balancer I should say, and then it goes over to the Glendinning itself. That's an old archaic unit, but they've been on a lot of boats over the years. Alright, got my big impacts, impact driver, hop back in the hole. Let's see, I think this is like 7/8. Not that you guys will be doing this, but just saying. I think it's 7/8. Just go check it. Ooh. So this is the guy I'm trying to get off down here. Yeah, that feels like 7/8. Put the impact on it. See if we can't drive it off. Here we go. Alright, that's off. Alright, we're in luck. Kinda. Those oil lines actually come out right down below that little fitting here, which is on the starboard side of the motor. So they go down and come underneath, and then I don't even know if you guys can see them. Literally right there, that little 1-inch fitting right there, or bigger actually. That's one of them. The other one's just right on the inside. You can see the corrugated metal. So I got to get a wrench in this tiny little gap right here pop both of those loose and then hopefully screw them off by hand, and then get the top sides over here. So I can find the right fitting size by matching these and then pulling them all off. This is gonna be a blast getting in there. Well, I'm coming to the realization that I think no matter what, I've got to remove this big water feed hose. That's the intake water, the strainer there. Pull that back so then I can get to the hookup where the two hoses are, where the old oil canister would have gone. And then I'll be able to pull, like, remove one bolt that screws that canister on and then pull the whole thing out and up. I think I'll have enough clearance in between here to do that. There's just no way to get these wrenches onto the fittings down there and move them far enough to break them loose. I got one of them loose, but I can't get it cracked to where it'll spin freely by hand. So this hose is gonna come off. You know, it didn't take much to pop those fittings loose. 1.25 inch, big old wrench. And these two things came right off. I won't be able to get that hose out until I get the bottom side out, but that's good to know. I'll put a couple rags in there to keep oil from getting in, or oil, water, or air, or anything like that. I got my one hose off, which I'm gonna leave there for now. Now we go down to get the hard ones down here. This has been a journey to get this hose out. And I'm afraid about getting back in. Because I'm not sure what this thing's snagging on. Whew. Come on, there's another damn ring clamp holding these things down there. I mean, look at this, ready? So here's the oil adapter fitting, you know, that goes down there in the place of where the oil filter would go. And here's my hose running through. Oh. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pry that other hose clamp down there open to get this thing out. Yeah, I got it. There's the other end of the tore up hose. And then the metal protection, which I'm not going to put back on the new hoses, because in all honesty they're part of the problem. But yeah, there's my housing, which now this is going to screw right off. I'm going to have to do this the right way. I don't know how I'm going to put this back in here. Oh man, yeah, this would be interesting for sure. Alright, now I got to get the other one out, which with this damn hose clamp that's on them could pose to be difficult. However, since I have the other one out now, there's a lot more room in this thing, so actually it could work out okay. This is some, look at this thing, for a 5.5 liter diesel. Now somehow I'm gonna have to put two of these literally back in the boat. God bless. Whew. Oh, that was a lot of exertion. Well, we're gonna call it a day on that part. I got the two hoses out, the old filter housing out, these guys off the front. Now I gotta have two new hoses made. I'm gonna spray off down here some more, clean up. Let it be for a while till I get my new hoses, and I'll have those put back on, and then I'll put new oil back in, and yada yada yada. Alrighty, another day, and I got my two new hoses made up. I went with this plastic sheathing this time, hard plastic, same hoses, same fittings, same materials. These are M18 ends, so they came at a pretty penny, about $400 a hose to have these made same day at a hydraulic shop. If I were to buy them online, it would have been about the same amount of money, and I would have had to wait weeks. So here we are. We got our 2 remote oil filter caps. This one's going to go on first. This is going to be the inside hose. This one's going to go on second. And this is going to be the outside hose. And I even had to tighten these fittings first, because once these are in there, I'm not going to be able to tighten anything. So I've got them tight. I've got the housings tight. Everything cleaned up. Slide these back on. Down in there, in that little hole. Oh man. I'm not looking forward to this. But once I got them run, routed down through, it's going to be a dirty job. I just got to tighten them off to the cap here and then refill the engine with oil and see if she fires up. Well, I ended up dropping my gasket in the bilge because it just fell right out of the housing. So now I'm gonna have to get some gasket maker and glue these things in before I even place them, because I do not want to have to go fishing for this again. That was a bummer, and it was messy. So I've got my 2 hoses threaded, coming out the other side. Come on, coming out the other side right there, which is good. So that was easy enough, but now I need to take the gasket and cement it to the O-ring channel there, so I don't go dropping things again. Alright, get a little ultra black gasket maker oil resistant on these bad boys. That should glue the gasket nice and good. Got them all dipped up, glued up. Now they can go on. Those gaskets aren't coming off. Slide them back in. Numero uno has been seated down there. You see it? Nice and seated. Gasket stayed on. Centered itself perfectly. Let's go for numero dos. Nice and easy. Thread the needle. Thread the needle. Now you're at this point, let's go forward, pull the hose up some. Ooh. Twisty twist and push. 2 hands. That hose clamp that was the thing keeping it in last time, it's the thing keeping this one from going down. I guess I didn't slide this one underneath it. Let's pull it back out, slide it underneath it. Yeah. Come on. This really is a dirty job, guys. Alright, now we go below. I'm not sure you guys can see the blood, sweat, and tears in the bilge of the boat down here, but I got the housing on. There it is, down there. Housing's on, fittings are tightened, everything's good to go. Wow, was that a pain. Whew. Dropped a bunch of stuff in the bilge, had to redo O-rings, had to undo hose fittings, retighten hose fittings. All that's left are these upper lines. Gotta get those oriented on there correctly. So let's do that. Okay, lines are secured. I just started putting oil in it. I had a little bit left over on the boat. But now I gotta go back to the shop and grab another 5-gallon jug of 15W40 Shell. So, anyway, it's all put back together. It is disgusting down here. It is oily, it's messy. I'm gonna degrease everything again. There are those 2 new hoses. My boy at the hydraulic shop crimped my fittings the wrong direction, so I had to put them in on this side of the filter housing versus that side, but actually it works out because they're completely out of the way of the balancer pulley that used to have the Glendenning on it. And then there's that side as well. So we're secured, get some oil in it, check the oil. Probably gonna run it for a few hours and then actually just change the oil just to be safe. But anyway, that project's done. Didn't blow up the boat, blew up some oil lines. Watch out for your old Glendenning engine synchronizer cables. Boy, what a mess. All right, I'm gonna get oil in these things, maybe a little bit because I got some other things to do, but I'm gonna get some oil in these things, fire this thing up, show you guys everything's good to go, fingers crossed. I need a bigger engine bay. The only solution for that is a bigger boat, but I don't need a bigger boat. Good old Volvos, everybody keeps saying get rid of them. I kind of like them. Alright, I got the new oil lines on. Obviously you guys saw that part. And now I'm coming back with my more 15W40 Shell oil. So, we'll get her filled up and then fire her up. But like I said, I think I'm only gonna run her for maybe first off a few minutes, but then only for a couple hours or 2. I'm gonna check the oil pretty frequently. I'm afraid there's a little bit of water in the oil and I do not want that contaminating or messing with the engine. So I'll run it for a little bit, shut it off, check it. The first test here probably gonna be like a 5-minute run. All right, add a little more oil here. Get my jug out. I mean, these engines take a lot of oil, but I like buying it in the 5-gallon jugs. However, it is slightly inconvenient in a small space like this. You can hear it falling to the bottom of the oil pan. So I'm gonna put in about what feels like 2 gallons. I think they take about 5. I think I had about 3.5 or 4 gallons in this thing. All right, we're gonna call that good for a second. And now we'll pull the dipstick here. Alright, moment of truth. Port engine. Let's get her fired up here. Watch the gauges. Fired right up. Knocking a bit. No oil pressure. There it is, start climbing. That's good, that's good. Beautiful, we have oil pressure. A little knocking. I'm gonna give her a little RPM. $80 pounds of oil pressure. Let's go down below and make sure everything looks okay. See oil shooting everywhere. We got water flowing. Oh yeah, water flowing. Hasn't shut off for low oil pressure. This is good. This is really good. I'm an idiot sometimes. Sorry. It's, you know, hit me up in the comments. You guys are gonna give me a hard time. Oh, I warned you about those Glendinning cables. Oh, you should have removed them. Pretty sure a guy commented last year about them. You know, you live, you learn, you fix things, and you move on with life. This is Boat Restoration by Ben. Thank you all for watching. As always, like and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We got a couple happy Volvos back up and running. And one happy Ben. All right, see you later.